Hello, guys. In this episode of Dwayne's World, I talk with my really good friends, all around creative, all around amazing person, Josh Madden. And we also brought in Dylan G of Market. And I started with Josh Madden just about our process in becoming friends and working together in art, fashion, everything that we love. And Dylan told us about his first prints that he made that kind of got him on the scene. And he just gave us the process of how he got started in Market. Enjoy this episode. Hello, guys. This is Dwayne. We're on another episode of Dwayne's World with a very, very, very special guest, Josh Madden. How are you today, man?
I'm really good. It's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to man. We used to hang out like every day,
Yeah, we did.
and now we are
But it's still like love.
still there.
Like, literally, you
You're with
know
me
that.
every day.
Yeah, like,
with
and
me.
you're with me every day as
Yeah.
well. It's very true. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean
Likewise.
that. I mean that, man.
Yeah, I wore my best coach's jacket and my best Dickies.
Hell yes. What's going down, man? Like, what's going on in your everyday or your day-to-day life these days?
Things are good. I wanted to say today that things are good. I was just on a shoot, and we were talking about current music and what's going on, and I
Yes.
think music is getting. I mean, I don't think music's ever bad, but I think music is getting really good.
I agree with you.
And
really
I
do.
think, man, I'm really excited for all the new records that are coming out. In this year,
Yeah.
and all the music you have coming out.
Yes.
The new Kendrick record. So many people that I'm interviewing right now and
Mhm.
working around in the many facets of the world that I'm in.
Got you.
And I'm just so excited for all these festivals.
Same.
I
Hell yeah.
mean, so the cross pollination of sonic cross pollination, and I think you're at the epicenter of it.
Yes.
Genuinely from the time we met.
Genuinely. Yeah.
And so yeah, everything's really amazing. Everything with what we've been working on, it's just the same thing we've been doing. Just gets busier and really cool. But
Yeah.
things are good, man.
It's sick, man. I want to say I feel like every time I talk to someone or like some manager, some artist, or some guy who's in the creative, and I'm like, yeah, I'm with Matt, and they all give me the same look, and of like respect, fear, and love. And I think that's so beautiful. Like every time I tell, they're just like, "You're like Benj and Joel and Josh and like Joey and like all those." I'm like, yeah, and they're just like, "Oh shit."
And you're not just with you're not just
mean-
with us. You've been
Ben,
for a minute since
Ben.
young Dwayne was here.
young
and,
Dwayne flipping pieces.
and I mean
doing all that.
through the we can't for a minute we can't overlook the fact that like MDDN and Black Mountain,
Yes.
Naveed and Mike and Shy and like everybody,
hell
you got a
yes.
really good team, man.
I agree.
You got a really good team, and I think it's really amazing. I was talking to someone the other day about how I was talking to them about Drake's team, and I was like, it's really incredible when you look at a picture of Drake's team and you see them as younger, like little kids almost.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
you see them all now, and you feel really proud for them. Like I don't profess to know any of them, but I think I look at
But you can
pictures.
see it, like
I look at pictures of us
yeah,
from 5 years ago,
bro.
and you and Naveed and everybody around and
100%.
all the different people, and I just feel an immense sense of pride for just people who really like banded together and had a collective vision,
100%.
and,
Yeah,
and followed yours too. I think you had a really incredible vision from day one.
I definitely had the drive. I really can like stand on that. I feel like I had the drive. The vision came like maybe a year or two ago, just off the work that we were doing. But like I was like, I'm gonna do it, and you guys was like, you are gonna do it. We'll figure it out. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean, I think honestly, I give you a lot of credit for early on when I first met you. You didn't maybe know exactly what you were going to be today, but you
Yeah.
knew what you weren't going to be, right?
Facts. That's
and that was really. I have a
true.
lot of respect for that. I remember. I'll never forget
That's
riding in the
alright.
car. I'll never forget riding in the car. At the time, I was driving this like loner. Someone let me borrow a car, and I'll never forget riding in the car with you. And you kind of, I forget what we were talking about, but you were like, "Yeah, Dwayne, I don't think that's in the cards for Dwayne," or something. You were like, and I
Oh
remember
yeah,
you
yeah.
speaking about Dwayne, and
Yeah.
like I was like,
A different.
I was
I
like,
remember
the
that
guy
song.
that I'm riding in the car with, it sounds like he works for another guy called Dwayne,
Yeah.
and that guy is the guy that I'm sitting with now.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
remember
really,
that talk.
I congratulate you because I think that like everything that's happening for you is, I obviously think that a lot of people like fell into a vision that you had, and also like it's like a group thing.
It is.
And I think that I'm super grateful for everybody involved, and I'm super grateful just to be, anytime you call me up or anybody calls me up to work for Dwayne,
Mhm.
we're all working for Dwayne,
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm so grateful. I wanna just let people know that like the team that I have around me, including you and who you mentioned, I'm just so grateful for, man. Because I see artists and meet friends every day who have people around them that they hate or they don't think is working hard and don't see the vision and don't care about them. Like I love getting off the phone with Mike or you or Naveed or Benj and being like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's weird business, and maybe I'm
No.
naive or silly, but, like, I love being able to go to battle with my guys and then let them know that I fucking love them.
Well,
Like, that's important to me.
I think the thing is like, and I think this is a great conversation. I think there's a lot for us to touch on, but I do think for anybody who listens or who gets to watch this, like, I like the idea of anybody because somewhere out there in the world right now is
Yeah.
a younger version of us,
100%.
and I think that the thing about all of this is that it's an existential journey.
It is.
Five
Ooh,
five
it
years
is.
ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago,
Mhm,
it's almost like I always say this to people, like
mhm.
if you growing up, my brothers and I, we were in the same bedroom, and the lights go out at night, and you're laying in there, and you're like, hey guys, like, and you're talking about ideas
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
your
for
eyes
sure.
closed in the dark, you can't see anybody, and the ideas that you're talking about are existential because
Yeah.
they're not real yet.
Yeah, man.
And
Mhm.
when you work with artists, and that's again why I was talking about Drake or like the journey that Kendrick's been on, or like you look at bands that have been together, seeing My Chemical Romance back doing their thing, like
Yeah,
that's
people
an
went crazy.
existential journey.
It is.
It's an existential journey, and then when you get there, it becomes a realized journey.
For sure.
But being able to like do that, like quote unquote, like lay in the dark and like dream with your friend or someone an artist that you care about, you know, it's like, like you're shivering in the cold and you're like opening and you're like, you drove 12 hours and you know everybody's there because they want to be, not because, any other thing. And I think that like every artist, I only can wish that for every artist.
Understand. Yeah.
Feel me? Like
Yeah,
I
100%.
only can wish that for every artist, and I wish that for every manager or creative director, anyone. I hope that everyone gets to work with someone and have that um extent existential
Yeah,
creative
existential.
journey
It's true.
and musical, like you with your producers,
Yeah. Oh, hell
everyone you're
yes.
creating with, and
Hell yes.
I
You
feel
have
it
to. Yeah,
when
you
it
have
clicks
to.
in. You hear it like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, now I hear you do stuff. Nothing, no shade to anybody in the past, but now I hear you do stuff, and I'm like, damn, like Dwayne's there on the same wave,
Yeah.
And it's like that in your life too. I think as a creative person, like when you link with those people in all the
Yeah.
relationships of your life.
100%.
So I love I love seeing what you're doing. I
Thank you,
love
man.
this next generation of artists coming up.
Me too.
A lot of them I feel like super excited for,
Yeah.
and the ones that I see that I'm like, oh man, I hope they have a good people around them. Like hope everybody gets to enjoy the relationship that we have.
Understand. Yeah. It's real,
And
man.
then you have with other artists, man. You're
Yeah.
really, bro. You are. I mean, let's talk about it for a second. Like
Please.
everybody loves to work with you because
Yeah.
you
Not
rock.
me saying yeah, but yeah.
Well, no, everyone loves to work with you, and you are a master of what you're doing, or you're getting there, you're
Oh,
working
yeah, I'm
there.
working on it.
And
Yeah.
and I think that like, but you also, when you get in the room with people, I think that they I feel like you're very super, you know, um encouraging
Yeah.
and
Yeah, of
super,
course. Yeah.
like, like I always feel empowered in your presence.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
That's a
that.
gift.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
real gift.
I've been like understanding that more because I think I came from a place of being, as you know, being, and for the people that don't know, I just got to watch so many people succeed. And I mean like close friends. Like I mean and I was always, it was never a thing with me where I was like, oh, like I'm not gonna get there. I was like, my best friends just did it, and my people that I'm sleeping with, and like who I'm on these couches with and on the ground with are doing it, I was always like, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get there. And it's like now that we're building, they can see like where I'm coming from and just the confidence, man. And like
You
the
you
yeah,
always
bro.
you always I
It's
remember
insane to me.
meeting Masego,
Yes. Yeah, we had a phone call the other day.
people like
Yeah.
Grandson, people
Yes.
like, and then obviously people that are closer to you like Austin and Chase, and
Yeah. Mitchell,
but you
yeah,
came
of
up with a
course.
bunch of people that I think that's what I'm saying. I think for this generation, but I think it's super healing when you see someone win and you're really excited about genuinely,
100%.
and
Yeah.
then because the thing that I don't think people tell you is that like we're all working and we're all somewhere in line waiting for our turn.
Yes.
Like it's
Very
like
true.
almost like little league and the coach is gonna pitch to you.
100%.
And some people, you know, get out of line or they jump
Right.
in front of other
Right.
people. But I think when you're waiting in line, it's like being at the DMV.
Yeah.
It's like waiting in line, and then you get up to the opportunity to have your swing, and
Yes.
everyone's like, "Yeah, Dwayne, go."
Right.
And if you're someone that like while you wait in line, you're like, "Oh, you thirsty? I got an extra
Oh,
water. Are
100%.
you hungry?
You hitting
Like
them
I
on the
gotta
back, you hit them
like
like,
you're
yeah.
yeah, you're like
100%.
or when they're having their swing
Yeah.
and you're like clapping and you're like, yo, like yo, you got one strike, but you
Yeah.
can get it,
Yeah.
like you got a full count, you can get it.
It's so true.
You hear other creatives clapping for you.
Yes.
You feel it. And I
More
think
than
that
ever now.
I think, oh
Like
man, talk about it. But
it's crazy.
I think honestly that some people don't have other people cheering them on.
Yeah.
And they just, and it's an emotional thing. Like creatives are emotional.
Oh,
And they need
100%.
love. They need to hear like, good news, bad news.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
like, or shit gets rescheduled.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yo, like some people don't, I think people don't realize that like the most important thing through all of this, through the valleys, the hills and the valleys, is like feeling the love.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you. I love the music you're making. I always have.
Thank you, man.
I love the early music. I
Thank
love them. I always knew that you were a soulful person, and
Yes.
I'm excited to see where it all goes,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
I'm interested to hear
too.
what you've been listening to, because I've been listening to so many different. I gotta through this whole last couple of years, while I was, when we started making music videos, we had no budgets.
Yes.
And I would go to thrift stores. We would go to thrift stores and we would, find the clothes for you or other people to
Yeah.
thrift stores.
And the best clothes too. Make it
Amazing,
work.
yeah. And I started about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I started grabbing cassette tapes because they were just like 50 cents.
Mhm.
And it grew all the way to this collection of like 300 cassettes.
Yeah.
And I was the other day in my car, my daughter grabbed one because I had been at a thrift store, and she was like, because I still hit thrift stores.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What, Dad? What's this?" And I was like, "It's a cassette."
Mhm.
And I told her how it worked, and she
Fire.
was like, she opened up the packaging, she was looking at it. So I went online and I found a boombox, and I
Gotcha.
ordered it.
Fire.
And I'll tell you what, man, the last 2 weeks,
Mhm.
maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever, I've been listening to all these tapes. Everything.
Yeah, what do
like,
you have on there?
man, like everything from Whitney Houston to the Eagles to Belinda Carlisle to like the Clash, Elvis Costello,
Fuck yes.
like, and it really, I started putting in tapes. I have a couple of Bob Marley tapes that are really interesting because they're not the remastered like pop
Yeah,
things.
right. Yeah.
They're like
with the good mix on it.
the jams,
Yeah,
like
hell
a
yes.
8-minute long get up, stand up jam,
You put me on him too, fully. Like,
But I'm telling you, man, it's
Fully
so listening to those records, listening to tapes, and having that boombox is also funny because I play it in the house in the
Mhm.
morning, in the shower, and I carry it around. And I go get in my car,
yeah.
and it's just like the tape is playing. I go to the office. I'm just living in my own little zone, listening to
that.
this tape
Mhm.
all day.
Understand.
And the next day, at the end of the day, I'll take it out and I'll put in another tape.
Yeah.
And like, it's
That's my
so
shit.
sick. And it's like, I listen to current music, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because of the
Same.
work that we do.
Yes.
But these tapes are kind of like returning me to my youth, and all these tapes that I had collected at thrift stores over the last 5 or 6 years, I got doubles. You know what's crazy is my friend, he's the creative director for YG. He makes a lot of YG. He makes YG's music videos. He's been
Okay.
photographing YG for a
Okay.
couple years.
Hell yes.
He hit me up because I put it on social media,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Where did you get that?" So I sent him the link. Now he's sending me
I
pictures.
might have
He's
to
like,
ask for
"Look
the
at the."
link.
He's like, "Look at this." He's like, "Look at this tape."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "I have doubles of this Sade tape. I have doubles of this."
Bro, she's so
So,
fucking good, man.
oh man,
Sade is
well,
the shit.
Diamond
Like,
Life is like really good. Like you go back and listen to those tapes, and you're like, you hear deep cuts that are like, you hear lyrics, and you're just like,
right.
whoa, like it's different than a greatest hits, which I'm not, I'm not shitting on greatest hits, but it's like you hear these deep cuts, and you're like, damn, like you understand why people like Sade or Elvis Costello, or I mean, some of these people, you understand. I remember why they're like legendary
Yeah,
people,
100%.
But
100%.
what have you been listening to?
Bro, I've been listening to so much
Anything
funkadelic.
new that we haven't like anything new that like
Can I say old stuff, or
yeah
that would
yeah
be new?
I mean
Yeah,
anything new like we always would kick
I feel
old
like we'd like
we would
similar
always
shit,
kick like old stuff back and forth.
bro. I mean, so much funkadelic,
Okay,
so much Sly and the
cool.
Family Stone.
You get into Zapp and Roger yet or
Not yet, not yet.
that's
I
that's
just
later on.
there.
You'll love.
I can't. I mean, with Kendrick doing when he dropped Heart, how it was a Marvin Gaye sample. I've always loved What's Going On,
Yeah.
but I never listened to a few of like the deep cuts of just some of Marvin Gaye stuff. A lot of his shit, and then yeah, just mad soul music like black artists with guitars,
Hmm.
ripping, and then just mad punk shit. I mean, similar to like a lot of White Stripes, a lot of the album that the music that I'm working on right now. A lot of Smashing Pumpkins, which I feel like we always talked about in
Oh
the day.
man.
I would say that's really it, bro. It's been like between mad soul and just punk shit,
Mm.
and still just me. Oh, I guess maybe we haven't talked about this in the past 6 months. I've just became obsessed with the Buzzcocks.
Oh okay.
Just
Cool.
like a true obsession of,
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
of those guys. Just the melodies that he kind of gives me a Bowie vibe, but it's a bit more pop and a bit more tasteful to my ears. And then how he was the lead singer of Buzzcocks. If people don't know, he was bi, and so a lot of the love songs they sound like he's talking to a woman, but he's talking to a man. And I just really, I think I have a lot of that in me as well, which people know. Of just being a fluid human and just loving people. And I really relate to a lot of things that he's doing as well.
I think to that conversation, to that end, I think that there are a lot of artists and creatives, people in general,
Yeah,
by the way, but there were a lot of artists and creatives in the past that wasn't part of their identity
not at all.
because they just weren't. It wasn't like. It wasn't like.
Can you say allowed? It wasn't
Yeah, it
allowed,
wasn't
maybe,
allowed.
or
Obviously, yes. It
yeah.
was. It was something that wasn't allowed. It was
Hmm.
something that wasn't. It was kind of like, let's just leave that.
Yeah,
Like let's just pretend like she's writing a song about how she wants to hang out with a dude.
of
And it was
course,
like
of
the
course.
thing is, I think that I like the idea of people going back right now and finding out, right? So later on, whether people are still alive or
Mhm.
they're passed on, and finding out these things about them, like their orientation and,
Mhm.
and stuff, and finding out, if not for any other reason, but just to identify.
Yeah.
I think that like there's a whole section of culture right now that is being like given the right of their identity.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that like I mean that I didn't know that about the Buzzcocks. I
Got
actually
you.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
as someone who DJ'd a lot and played a lot of their music and
Yeah.
knows their
So
music,
good. So good,
but
man.
I think that like that's a really good point, and I think it should anytime that that's part of someone's identity that we should celebrate it,
We
bring
should
it up, and
celebrate
like
it.
make it known because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are marginalized in different ways and don't have their identity
Hmm.
because they don't well they might have their own identity but they don't in pop culture we rob that
We
identity,
do. We do. Yeah.
and
The industry will do it to you.
I mean we could talk a whole hour about that, but I think that's great, and I think like anytime that that's why I want you to have your platform
Yeah, man.
because you
It's a
are
coming.
you are a voice for I think so many people, and you know, you having your platform, and I think that's what I'm trying to do at this stage of my life.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to do more than anything
Yeah.
is help people have the platform that
Yeah.
they deserve, because I think that it's going to remedy a lot of staleness in culture.
Understand.
You know, feel me? Like I feel like
do.
there's a lot in culture that's like fucking stale.
Yeah, it
because
is.
it was just like, you know, real, you know, maintained. You know, it was like super
true.
like maintained.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
true.
like,
We'll be right back on Dwayne's World with Josh Madden. We're adding a new guest, Dylan from Market. Hello, guys. Dwayne here on Dwayne's World, back with Josh Madden, my guy, and we got Dylan here from Market.
What's up? What's up?
He
What's
just pulled
up?
in. He looking real beautiful right now, real dapper. How are you, King?
Trying to keep up with you. You know.
I'm chilling, man. I love that hoodie too.
Thank you, man.
It's
Shout
giving
out
me
to
Green
Basket
Day.
Case,
I
one of
love-
my favorite brands out right now.
I never heard of that brand.
It's a
What is
very
that?
like DIY ethos kind of brand. Like
Okay.
started from the bottom. They're still
Hell
doing
yes.
pop-ups in garages and but like they cultivated a crazy fan base that every pop-up I've gone to like line around the block. You know.
That's so fire. How are you doing today? What you been up to, man?
Pretty good, man. Went to the Swaco and Little Aaron show last
I saw you
night.
post that.
What's up?
I saw you post
Oh,
that on your
yeah.
story. I love
No,
that.
it was a movie. It was sick. There was a bunch of other people on the flyer. I can't remember all the names, but
Yeah.
we got there at probably like 9, and
Okay.
I thought it was gonna be, you know, maybe a little empty until later, and it was already packed out by the time we got there. And Lil Aaron played some unreleased stuff. Soiko played a lot of songs off. It was fun while it lasted. They both had amazing sets.
Hell yes.
Almost stage dove, but kind of backed out at the last second.
You should have, bro. The energy looked crazy, man. I want to talk. I know people know who Swaco is, but I got to like sing on one of his songs on the new album,
Mhm.
just being in the studio with him, and he's really talented.
Definitely.
I really like what he's doing. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, he's
I dig him.
one of like my favorite artists, pioneering the resurgence of the pop punk.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah. He's like tapped in.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's
Along
he's
with
su-
yourself.
We here, man. We just making. I mean, I think people catching up now. It's good.
For sure.
I like it. I'm into it. I also want to talk to people that don't know, like, how did you get started in marketing and everything? I've done my research, but for
For
the
sure.
people that don't know,
And we've had plenty of conversations.
we
about it. So I'm from Indiana.
Yeah.
I moved out here 5 years ago after finishing up college. I got a
Okay.
hold of the owner and founder, Mike Sherman of Market, on Instagram. I think they probably had around like 5,000 followers. I didn't know at the time, but he was just doing everything himself. I thought it was
Gotcha.
like a full-fledged brand, but
that's
I think I
hard.
left some like quirky comments and stuff on their Instagram page, and he hit me up one night and just asked me to design some stuff for him and send him a few designs.
Yeah.
He dropped them. They sold out.
Come on,
Yeah, let's go.
that's hard.
And then I did do like an internship to get my degree from Purdue University.
You went to
and
Purdue, bro.
I went to Purdue, but
I
for
love
fashion
that.
design, so not
That's
like
fire though.
engineering or anything. But
I love that shit.
yeah, I hit him up one day and was just like, "Yo, man, like, is there any chance I could move out to LA and intern for you so I
Yeah.
can wrap up this degree?" And I
Mhm.
guess at the time I didn't think that it would be like a full future plan, but
Yeah.
I think he reluctantly was like, "Sure, yeah, if this random kid wants to move out across the country
And
to
work,
intern
yeah.
for me."
Hell yeah.
And yeah,
I feel
we're
like
here.
it's been longer than 5 years though.
No, it's actually 5 years on May 25th. Like,
Oh, wow.
Fire.
in
That's
10 days or
sick.
something.
That's crazy.
I mean,
I
I
met
feel,
you like shortly after too.
Yeah, the original office, I think. I was-
20. I feel like it was 2017 when I met you.
I was just trying to think of that on the way here of like when you first introduced me to Dwayne.
I wanted to talk. I remember meeting
Do
you for
you?
the first time. Yes.
Let's hear the story.
I
Wait, was it
remember-
at the show that you played
It wasn't the show I played.
with Chase Atlantic?
It wasn't that one. I remember
No.
we went to some club with Chase, and Dylan was in the corner.
Oh,
and he had
yeah.
long
I think it was
hair.
Warwick or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
Which, bro, I
wild.
went to 2 months
Yeah.
ago, and I thought about that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we had a different experience than we had that night when I went with the lady. But
I
I,
had
was
no
like,
idea that was the first
that was
time.
the first time I met you, bro.
Yeah.
And you were posted same energy and just had longer hair. You were
Okay.
amazing.
I
and,
don't know
like,
what to do with myself at clubs. I just
Same.
kinda stand there.
Same, bro. But it was like, were you there, Josh?
I wasn't, but
Okay.
I met Dylan. Yo, so here's a crazy piece. So, shortly before that,
Mhm.
around that time, actually, it might have been right around that time. You played a show at Genghis Cohen
Hell yes.
it was you, Chase Atlantic,
Mhm.
K Kemp jumped up and did some stuff, and Sheck West.
And Sheck West.
Sheck West.
Come on.
Before Sheck West popped off, it was you, Sheck West, Chase Atlantic, and K Kemp.
We gotta
It was
find the
all-
flyer. for that
Crazy.
shit.
Oh no, I have footage of the show. I have the flyer. I have footage.
Crazy
I have
night.
the footage, everything. But what happened was I went down
Damn.
Mike. So I knew Mike for like I've known Mike for probably, I don't know, over a decade,
For
right?
sure.
So I knew Mike. I mean, I would say I really, really know him like about a decade. Like I started seeing him around, and he had a brand before
New York?
in New York. He had a brand, and that go down. And when all of this was starting, I would go down to the beginning of Market, and Mike has always been like a genius, you know. And Mike and Alex, right? So
Yeah.
Mike at Market and Alex at Pleasures, two of my favorite people, you know.
Likewise.
And yeah, and I went down to this office,
Yeah.
and I was like with Naveed. I was like, yeah, you want to go down and see my friend's, you know, brand? And it was like the office was like as big as this room,
Right.
and there was this kid sitting like at this table, like packing up orders. You know, like at the time the brand was like, you know, probably doing 50 orders a day or something like that. You know,
Yeah, it was probably just 2 or 3 of us and just doing
Yeah.
everything from design, production, fulfillment.
but this kid,
That's so
this
fire.
kid kept
I'm the
like,
kid if
this
you
kid,
didn't.
this
Yeah,
kid
that
kept
hard.
looking over, like, and I was like, yeah, there's this guy Joel found called Check West, and there's this band Chase Atlantic, and I
Yeah.
was telling him all about all these bands. I was like,
Love that.
there's a band called Chase Atlantic, this guy called Dwayne,
Yeah.
this guy Check West, and this guy K Camp, and we're gonna do this thing. And I was like, you think I could get a couple hoodies?
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, and
So
this
fire.
kid, and the kid was looking over, right? It was Dylan, the young ass kid, and he was like, I heard of that guy, and I was like, so it was like, because Mike is like, Mike
Of
is.
course, Dylan said,
Look,
I
look,
love that.
I was
He's like,
eager.
yeah, I'm up on
to
it.
Mike's defense, he's super dope. I mean, he's got really good taste. He like
He
he's like
does,
listening
he
to some
does.
like Wu-Tang or something like that. You know,
For sure.
he's got good taste, but he's like, I don't know, I never heard of that. Like he's like he's on his own wave. But Dylan was there, and he's like, yeah, I fuck with that. You
Hell
know,
yes.
and so every time I would ever go down to Market, I would be like, we're gonna shoot a video. Like, you think I could grab a couple pairs of socks and a couple
Yeah.
hoodies? You know, a hat.
You guys can have whatever you
And like,
want.
Yeah.
and Dylan would always be like, I know who that is. I fuck with him. And I was like, and I would tell Mike, I'd be like, man, that kid, he knows what's up.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
up
he
on it.
started telling me as time goes on, he starts telling me like, hey man, you should check out this kid. You should check out this artist.
Yeah.
You should check out this. Hey, you heard of this girl? Like
Mhm.
always just texting me like, you heard of this? And I'm like, man, you're like the secret weapon of like A&R.
Yeah, it's something
Like,
I give a lot of credit to, like growing up in the Midwest in the middle of nowhere, basically. It's like I just had all the time in the world to just be on the internet and discover
Yeah.
new musicians, artists, brands.
You're always posting some dope
It's
shit
crazy
too,
though
bro.
because
Like,
I will
honest,
say like
honest.
it's crazy though because I will say like even when he just walked in, I was like,
Yeah.
you look like young Rick Rubin, and he'd be like, I never saw him when he was young,
Bro.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
you look like young Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
He's like young Rick Rubin to me because it's like he'll be like he'll have some. I'll be like, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of this, and it'll be some like classic legendary thing, and he'll be
Definitely
like.
like we got a yin and yang.
He'll be like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't even know
fire.
who that is, and I'm like, his taste is like, his taste level is like
Where
there, you know,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like he introduced. I mean, I had met little Aaron before,
Mhm.
but Lil Aaron, you know, a lot of people know Lil Aaron from his like, I'm Lil Aaron, have a party, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
like Lil Aaron, actually, like people like Ethel Kane and some of the stuff that he's finding,
Mhm.
I'm like, you know, like I'll say to people like, you ever hang out with Dylan and Lil Aaron, and they'll be like, I don't know, they seem like they get a little turnt, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
nah,
not at
bro,
all.
like you just need to talk about music with them. They have, you know, like I'm telling you, I'm gonna start a record label, and those two are coming with me.
Yeah, that's
Lil
fair.
Aaron and Dylan are gonna work at my record label.
Run it,
bro.
but I fuck with Lil Aaron too, and Dylan. You know I love you, man. I know we have to like. I know we've talked on many occasions, but like I think we have to work in some capacity
Definitely,
within
man,
the
I'm
music,
down.
you know, and figure it
and
out.
Dylan, I'll say this and then I'll shut up. Like Dylan,
No, you're good,
like
babes.
like I'll bring Dylan anywhere with me, like backstage anywhere, and like he'll be like, sometimes I remember this one show we were at. You were like, sorry man, I've been drinking all day. You were like a zombie.
Hell
You were
yes.
like, I've been drinking all day, and I was like,
Did I
nah,
turn
man.
it around though?
Bro, you're a sweetheart. You were like, I remember like, and it's funny because people will be like, industry people, label
Understand.
people will be like, who's that guy over there? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's Dylan. He's head of marketing. Like I'll be like, he's the head of marketing at Market.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, Market? Oh, okay.
Fuck
Like
yes.
label people are like, oh, okay, Market. And they'll talk to Dylan and be like, he's interesting. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's a creative dude. He's like on a creative wave, you know? It's like people
love
don't, I
that.
think people don't really realize like Dylan gets the business side done
Mm-hmm.
during the day. And at night he's like a creative. He turns into a creative.
Yeah.
He's like, and I give the reason I shout out Mike is I give Mike a lot of props because as you build a company and it turns into a corporation,
Yeah.
it's really it's really like a lot of people don't. I think we're alike because I don't. I think I'm super grateful for my brothers because I'm not a really good corporate person.
I feel
I
you.
mean, just like I don't. I like, if I think you probably encounter this too. Like everybody will be like, we should do this. And I'm like, no, that shit's whack, bro.
Right,
Like, don't
right.
do that.
Yeah, I
It's
feel.
like, people are like, you really can't be talking like that in meetings. And I'm like, man, fuck that shit.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
shit's
it's
whack,
fair,
bro.
yeah.
Like, you got to
If it's
call
whack,
it
it's
out,
whack, bro. Yeah.
Like, you just have to, I think that's why corporations get fucking whack.
Yeah, it's
they
true.
don't, because they're like, oh, we need to let Robbie go. He's just talking too much. It's like, man, fuck that shit. You need to listen to Robbie.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I feel all the way too because I want to go back to what you're saying about Dylan's A&R skills. I feel when you FaceTime me, you're always asking me about like, do you know this artist? Do you know this homie? Do you know this person? And then 2 weeks later, I hear about him.
Yeah.
Or like I'll see a week
Yeah.
later. Like you're always up on
Yeah,
this.
it's something I'm
like
super interested in is just the music business, and I feel like I've had 1,000 conversations with Josh, Lil Aaron, yourself, and like I still don't understand the difference between publishing and whatever else. And
understand.
But I just like connecting dots, and I'm like, yo, if I discover some artists on Apple Music or SoundCloud or whatever, I send it to Josh or send it to you.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
Dylan is
you
mad
too.
selfless, man. And I
Bro,
think
yeah.
like,
I mean, same with you.
he designed
bro.
it when I met
Like,
him. He designed a Pleasures logo. That's probably my favorite Pleasures logo. I mean, I like a lot of stuff they've done. I love Pleasures, and
Same.
Vlad and Alex are great dudes, and but he designed it, and I was like, wow, man, that's so sick. And he was like, yeah, I was in school and I designed it, and I'm like, I think that I want to reinforce any conversation that I get to have with anybody creative. Like, I think it's really, really awesome when people are selfless
100%.
because like this guy has so much good karma. Like
it always comes back.
bro, he's gonna be like Dylan is good, and Dylan's good anywhere. If you see me, you see Dylan.
Yeah.
If you see Dylan, you see me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, to
like-
speak on the Pleasures logo, it's like, I was in my bedroom in Indiana, probably smoking a White Owl or something.
Love
Just
that.
designed this logo in like 30 seconds, DM'd it to the Pleasures account, and like very surprisingly, they responded like, hey, we want to buy this off you. Like, we really
Buckets.
like it. And I was like, dude, I just want to see it out in the world. Like, you guys
Yeah.
can use it on whatever you want. And I could have taken a check right there, but like that probably wouldn't have gotten me the opportunities that I got when I moved out here.
Understand.
everyone loves you, man, and I
Yeah.
think it's because you're.
True.
I think like Dwayne, the reason that look you two sitting together is the next generation for me.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the sense that like I think a lot of people we tend to as humans we tend to go, we look at something that someone did and we go like, oh, you were part of that? What did you get out of it?
Yeah.
It's like at the end I like to tell people like, what did I get out of it? Like I saw my friend like reach the top of the mountain, like it's like we are all going to get a chance
Yes.
in it with karma, with karmic retribution. It goes both ways, and we're all gonna get a chance to, shine.
Yeah.
It's crowd surfing.
Yeah, I think our
Everybody can't
generation-
crowd surf at once.
Yeah,
One
it's
person,
true.
we're all holding that person up, and then
100%.
they come down and they're like, now you go up.
Yeah.
Our
Boom.
generation really supports each other, and like we all
Yeah,
live
man.
vicariously through each other. I feel
Yeah,
like.
True.
I love it, man. That's why I love you saying selfless too, because I feel like that's all three of us.
Yeah.
And even me being able to do something like this, to where like we have music and we have tours, we have festivals, we have commercials, like all this good shit going on. But I want to talk to my friends and lift them up and just see what they have going on, and make sure people know what they're doing. Like I think that's so beautiful.
We've had a lot of conversations
really
early
do.
on before I met Kenny. You had met Kenny.
Yes.
You were talking to Kenny. People like Poor Stacy.
Yes.
All these different kids that are coming up, and I think a lot of artists that are coming up right now are making inroads in writing for other people.
100%.
And I really commend that because I think in the past, people. By the way, I don't fault artists. I think people are trained to behave.
We've
and-
talked about this gladiator complex.
We did.
like-
I could go in. On
Many,
it
I
too,
mean,
by
it's
the way.
a song is on
Yeah.
stage because of that. Like,
Yeah.
the gladiator complex kills us, and I think we're
Yeah.
What does that
really
mean?
trying to
Oh,
just how you got to take the homie down to
Oh,
like
yeah.
win.
So
like
the
they
way
put us against each other.
So I'll make it really
Yeah.
really quick.
No,
But
talk about it.
gladiator mindset is like, so back in the day, the gladiators were people like were the underprivileged people,
Sure.
and then there was a privileged part of society that was sitting and watching gladiators. And I look at creatives a lot of times like gladiators, like you go into a room, whether you're creative directors, video, a bunch of people that are trying to get a video, like they want to make your video. And what happens is industry sometimes, and we ourselves, we can get into this gladiator thing where it's like, we start out, the three of us are video directors or singers or writers or producers, and we start out and we're all like have big dreams.
Yeah.
And then someone starts going, and it's like, it's the same thing with the gladiator thing. It's like they train you to think that like you got to kill the other person
100%.
because there's only so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And fuck that shit. There's so much opportunity.
So much.
And the thing we have to do as creatives is continue to point to open the door for other creatives and say no. Like, no, I'm not gonna do this. We're gonna work with my friend. We're
Yeah.
gonna bring my friend up.
It's us versus
And-
them.
Yeah,
not
Yeah.
versus each other.
and I was saying, I'll finish the thought. Like, what happened was in the gladiator think, what would happen is they would, and I think that like a lot of artists that are big artists like don't even know this, whether it's a Kanye or a Kendrick or a Taylor Swift or a Bieber, they get out in the world and they start winning the same way a gladiator would start winning, right? A gladiator would win, and everyone would be like, oh shit,
Yeah.
you're the one.
Yeah.
And then after they would win and kill like 10 dudes, everybody would be like, I'm tired of watching this motherfucker win.
100%.
And they would see,
100%.
and they would be sitting and their friends would be like, he's a badass, whatever. And the group never wants the one to be bigger, whether it's Michael Jackson or
I mean, Michael Jackson and Prince is like the
Michael Jackson and
perfect-
Prince is exactly the
perfect
victims
example.
of that gladiator
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Right? So then what they do is a new guy comes out, a new person comes out, and they go, get him.
Yeah.
Take down Prince.
Yeah.
Fuck Prince.
Mm-hmm.
And Prince is like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah.
You guys loved me 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And these artists, these creatives, man, no one is in their corner being like, hey man, don't worry about it. This is the group think.
Mm-hmm.
The group is tired. The group is tired of you winning because they don't want you. I feel like, I mean, I can't speak on Kanye. I don't know him, but I feel like that's what he deals with. Like,
Yeah.
enough people go crazy on him, and it's like trying to take him down. And it's like, because they don't want you to be big. They don't want you
think
bigger.
there's a shift in the like zeitgeist right now?
I do.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because people
Mhm.
are getting therapy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is key.
Mm-hmm.
People like, and I was listening to Michael Stipe say it the other day about how,
Yes.
you know, coming off tour and being on tour and being, he said adoration and fame are like the wildest drug.
Yeah.
And he was like, when I discovered acupuncture
Mm.
and like holistic things, I would come off tour and I would get acupuncture and it actually helped regulate my serotonin.
Crazy.
But like, I think people don't realize like you fight, it's like a gladiator fight
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
You've been in it 6-7 years now,
100%.
right? And it's like a gladiator fight. You're like sleeping on floors,
Mhm.
like fighting for your life.
Yeah,
freezing.
literally.
You don't know what the next day is like, and then you make it. Everyone, you get the kill. Like watch a gladiator movie, and then in your mind think of it as creatives.
I will.
And I'm telling you,
It's
you get
true,
the kill,
man.
and you're like, you don't know whether to celebrate or whether to like. You're like, oh,
Oh,
my
go get the
God.
next homie who
And-
might be coming
And
up
then
on
the
you.
next homie comes
Yeah.
out, and you're like, you know, and I think it happened to Virgil. You know, I love Virgil and respect him. You know, and like I think it happens to people. They get so big that people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Get
yeah.
'em.
No,
You know, and
literally
it's like,
that
wanna
face
root-
you
and
made.
it's like this underdog mentality, and so you know, I
I'm
think
gonna
that
drop
like,
a gem right here.
Go ahead.
There's actually a lyric from the Jack Harlow album that's like,
Please.
when everybody in the world loves you, there's only one way to stand out, which
Hmm.
is like, you know, by hating. And I feel like, you know, Drake and all them, yeah, they just suffer from getting too big, and
yeah,
people loved them for so long. It's
I think we have to call it out, but you're in the zeitgeist. You know, I think a shift in the pop culture.
Mhm.
I think there's a big one right now because I think people like, and I commend Kendrick, and I commend people that are like, slow down, you know, like, and like,
Slow down, man,
and
that's
also
important.
like, in incorporating peaceful measures and incorporating health and wellness into their, you know, into their message. And I think that like, you know, and I think that like it's got to be this thing where we're consciously like, hey man, like there's two kind of conversations, right? When a new person comes in and we're all sitting around,
Mhm.
right? In 5 years, someone comes in and they're doing their thing and it's a little different than us and we're like, "Oh, that's a little different," you
Yeah.
know? There's two conversations. There's a conversation that goes like, "You see that new kid? See that
100%.
weird shit he's doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What?
What is that?
What's that shit?"
Yeah.
Or there's a conversation where I think we're going to be sitting and we're going to say, "Hey, you see that new thing?
100%.
so different. It's like
Yes.
interesting.
Yes.
I met him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Right.
met
Right.
him? What was he
right.
like? Or
Yeah.
she like? What were
Yeah,
they like?
I love it. Yeah.
You know, and I think that like in this new era, there's all these people in peace and respect to the OGs that are like creating inroads and opening doors and having that conversation where you look at these OGs and they're like giving, you know, behind closed doors or however they can, they're reaching out to people and they're like, hey, let's kick it. And they're giving gems because the next generations we need to like there is a version like 300, right? Where you're like, man, fuck this gladiator shit. Fucking take this shit over.
Yeah.
You know, it's a revolt.
Mhm.
I think I think what's going to happen next, I think there's a really friendly meetup, you know, of the culture people.
Yeah.
And then there's a revolt.
I think
That-
it all kind of goes back to like how everything in music, for example, is like getting mashed up, whether it's like hyper pop or
Mhm.
pop punk or emo rap or whatever. Like I feel like that's a big factor of like
Yeah, it
we're all
is, bro.
understanding of everything. We find value in everything, even if it's not for us. It's like, oh, I get why that was made. Somebody out there likes it because of this.
Yeah.
Understand.
That understanding is super.
I mean,
important.
the last thing I'll say is like everybody, you know, everybody is like, oh, it's going to be the new grunge. It's going to be the new Nirvana. It's like, I mean, respect. But
Right.
honestly, I mean, as someone who lived through that and really like loves my youth, like, look, what Woodstock and what the hippie thing was is the same thing as grunge in the fact that, and what I think, look at Skylar and those kids that are,
Shout out to Praying.
yo, shout out to Praying, but like, look at Skylar and all those kids that are like grandma and like all those people
Yep.
that are like completely what they're doing. I think is Dev Hines too. What he did and what a lot of people do is a new version of like the new grunge or the new hippie isn't gonna be a flannel shirt or a tie dye. I mean, it could be that stuff mixed
Could be,
in. It's
yeah.
not gonna be just a look. It's gonna be like an ethos
Mhm.
that's like, yo, like, fuck this, like, competition. Like, when everybody puts down their swords and is like, I'm done with this competition shit. I'm just gonna go outside and we're gonna.
I think that's the one thing I like really love about the opportunity of like working with Market over all these years. It's
Mhm.
like obviously we're a streetwear brand, but like in our ethos is inclusivity and like positivity and stuff. But like,
Everything with the plants and the outdoors.
but you
and,
can't really
Yeah.
define us. Like we
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
whatever we want.
It's
We just
true.
made a shirt yesterday that I don't even want to like say it on air, but
Mhm.
check it out on Instagram and it was ridiculous. And I never thought that
You're talking about the
come and go
yeah,
shirt.
yeah.
So it's like we just have fun with it, and I think the new generation of musicians are having fun with it, making
100%.
what they want to hear.
Yes.
The corporate behavior is gonna. By the way, I'm not mad at any company. Like
You seem pretty mad.
we need like, you know, we need like big groups of people to make big differences. But the mentality and the ethos is gonna have to shift.
Definitely.
Feel me? Like they're gonna have, and not on some like, you know, like, oh, we have this part of our company that, you know, regulates whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, fuck that. It's gonna have to be really in the ethos of the company because the companies that are going to thrive are the ones that have that built into them because, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But
Do you guys have anything y'all want to leave the people with before we get out of here?
You go first.
I say creatives and everybody, music, everybody, however you identify, before you like digest anything or whatever you consider that people are dealing with a lot in this world right now, and also that I look at everybody now as a possible friend as opposed to a possible enemy. I used to be like that, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody was like a threat or an enemy, and I look at everybody as like different with different eyes now.
Mhm.
And it took me deciding to do that. So I'm not perfect, but I think if we can get our minds there and we can look at other people
Mhm.
as like, you know, as like possible friends or like possible, you know, good things happening,
Yeah.
it's more likely that energy is going to bring that in the world.
100%.
Yeah, and I would just say, chase your dream, and
Yes.
anything's possible. You can manifest anything in this world, and thank you for using your platform to, let
Big
people like
true.
me and
Come on,
Josh
man.
speak on stuff like that.
Thank y'all for coming in here and having like a really real and beautiful conversation too, man. I love that shit.
Let's do it again.
And I love you guys. I really do. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. This is Dwayne's World. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you.